know, the views and opinions expressed during RealBlackTalk.com do not necessarily reflect those of the staff and management of CCTV, the Cambridge, the community, the television, anybody else.
Hello everyone and welcome to the God Talk, guys. My name is Michael Mack. This guy here just leaning in is Michael Koran, one of my best friends. Each week at this time we gather to talk about God and faith and matters of the spirit.
Or the flesh, yes.
Or the flesh.
In fact, anything.
We're so focused. It's a really focused show. Excuse me while I put on some lip gloss. So we've got a couple of shows here. The 7:30 segment is Michael's, the 7 o'clock. This segment is Michael's, and the one that follows is my segment. And Michael is interested in discussing the Gospel of Mark, which you're going to be teaching.
Tuesday night.
Yeah. Here in Cambridge.
My home. Yeah.
In your home?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I think I got that email. Yeah.
Yes.
So you wanted to share some of Mark tonight and talk about Mark a little bit. Talk about the Gospel of Mark, which is the first of the four Gospels. The first that chronologically
written, yes.
Yes. And historians generally agree that it was written maybe 35 or 40 years after the death of Jesus.
Yeah,
Is that right?
There's a big controversy whether it was written before the Romans started decimating Israel and Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
The consensus is Romans did it in two stages. First they weaken you, and then they totally devastate you.
First they break your knees.
Yes, and then they
go in for the kill.
So this is somewhere maybe in between the two, maybe.
And when you generally open a Bible, you will open to, when you open the New Testament, you will open to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And that's because for centuries, people believe that Matthew was the first book that was written.
Oh, is that true? Oh,
yeah.
Well.
Yeah. So it's, even though scholars generally agree now that it was not the first, that Mark was the first,
yep.
It still has a place of great importance, Matthew does, and is, I guess you could say, kind of a fleshed out version.
Mark is starker.
Yeah, it's very lean.
Matter of fact.
Very lean.
Yep.
This happened, this happened, this happened.
When you hear the ending, this is Michael Mack and his beautiful, Michael Mack is doing a show tomorrow.
Don't set me up like that, man.
Oh, no?
Don't set me up to fail.
This is just going to be an ordinary reading of the end of the Gospel.
An ordinary reading by a pedestrian, boring guy.
Well, no, don't say that either. That's not allowed. My buddy Michael, don't you dare. I only let one of my dear friends say that about me and everybody else I know.
So your request was that I'm going to read the last. Do you want me to read the last chapter?
Yes, read the last chapter.
It's a very short chapter.
Yes.
I mean, Mark itself is only 16 chapters, and the very last chapter is quite spare.
Now, if you read your Bible, you'll have another chapter after, but that was put in according to almost all scholars. This ending was so stark that the people who were making the Bible said we have to have something new.
We need more.
Yeah.
We need more than this. And it is very postmodern. It's a very postmodern
this is
ending.
Really one that could speak to us.
So the setup, Jesus has been crucified, or Yeshua, as you will hear his name pronounced in this reading, in this text. So he's been crucified. He's been taken to the tomb. The weekend, crucified on Friday, Saturday, everybody's freaked out and in hiding. But on Sunday morning, the women go to the tomb.
And only women, really.
Only women. Only the women had the guts. Peter ran away. Everybody else ran away, but the women had the guts.
Huh? Wow.
Now this translation uses the original Aramaic names. So Shabbat, Sabbath. Miriam is Mary of Magdala. Miriam of Yaakov, and Shlomit. Who is Shlomit?
Maybe Shulamit is the usual translation. Maybe just another woman.
Another woman, yeah.
And these are what their real names were.
Yeah.
The Bible changed them so that we would forget,
Well, they were kind of anglicized.
forget their that they were Jews.
Is that so? Do you think there might have been some of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Lots.
Anyway, enough introduction. Here it is, chapter 16. When Shabbat was over, Miriam of Magdala, and Miriam of Yaakov, and Shlomit brought aromatic spices so they might go and anoint him, so that they might anoint Jesus, anoint his body. And very early, on the first day of the week, on Sunday, they came to the tomb as the sun was rising. They said to each other, "Who will roll away the stone? Who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance to the tomb?" They looked up, and they saw that the stone had been rolled away, and it was huge. Then, on going into the tomb, they saw a young man sitting on the right, dressed in a white robe, and they were utterly astonished. The young man said to them, "Don't be alarmed. You are looking for Yeshua of Nazareth, Jesus of Nazareth, the one who was crucified. He was raised. He is not here. See the place where they laid him. But go, tell his students and Shimon Kepha, Simon Peter, go tell his students and Simon Peter, he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him, just as he told you." So the women went out, and they fled from the tomb, seized by trembling and ecstasy. And they said nothing to anyone.
Wow.
They were afraid.
Thank you, Michael.
And that's it. That's the ending.
That's the ending. Wow.
That's the ending of the very earliest translation of Mark.
The very earliest Gospel of Mark.
Yes, the very...
the Gospel of Mark. Yes.
Yes.
This is.
Now, I don't... we haven't actually seen the texts, because I imagine that what we have are a number of different versions of Mark. In the same way that the other Gospels, we have pieces of different versions, and as more and more time went by, we had complete versions. So for John, for example, the Gospel of John, the earliest thing that we have are some scraps. And it takes, I think, 100 or 200 years before we finally have a complete version of John. So I'm not sure exactly what it is that we have that the scholars are looking at.
But this is a scholarly consensus. This was the ending.
Yeah.
I mean, I think all scholars, or almost all scholars, agree that this is how Mark ended. Because the stuff that we have in your regular Bibles is written with different Greek words, different Greek grammatical structure, and so on. So it's pretty clear that someone else wrote.
That's what scholars agree, yeah.
So this is quite an ending. I love it, but it's I could be like the women and afraid in some ways.
And so...
and astonished and frightened.
It ends with a promise. It's a very open-ended ending. There's no conclusion. There's no wrap-up.
No.
And I think that's, in fact, the later versions of Mark had that wrap-up. Yeah.
Because we don't know if this is true. This guy is dressed in white.
Yeah.
Who could it be? We don't know. They don't know.
Well, many scholars, it has been proposed that this guy dressed in white is Mark himself, or whoever wrote the book of Mark. There are some who believe that that is so.
How did he get in there?
There is a lot that is not revealed in the
So
Gospels.
let's do this. We could do this slowly.
Maybe he rolled the stone away.
Yeah, that's the question number one. Could one person roll the stone away?
I don't know.
Certainly the women couldn't. All three of them knew, even together, they couldn't. Why are they going there alone without a big, strong man who goes to the gym to help them roll away the stone? What do you
Maybe
think?
because none of the guys wanted to go.
Why not?
Maybe because, well,
That was
Jesus
scared?
was crucified.
Yeah.
So you start saying that you were with the crucified
You
one.
get in trouble.
You get in trouble.
And trouble is like crucified.
Yeah, it doesn't get any worse than that.
Yeah. Ouch.
It's at the very least, it's humiliating.
Did the
But
Saudis-
at its worst, an excruciating way to
Did
go.
the Saudis behead that man and crucify him? Do you know? Have you heard about that?
About what?
Saudi Arabia, there was this young 17-year-old that was participating in a protest during the Arab Spring,
Yeah.
and they convicted him and were going to behead him and crucify him. Don't mess with the Saudis. I don't know if it's happened yet. But, ouch. Anyway, so this crucifixion is still going on, and was going on before even the Romans. It happened in the Greek world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Romans made great use of it.
Yeah.
It was a great way to
Scare
both.
people, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It
why the
was
Saudis, That's
advertising.
why the Saudis are doing it now.
Yeah.
They're beheading him first, which is probably a kindness in its way. So the women are going to, which is very nice, to anoint his body. Mm-hmm. And Orthodox Jews believe in
Maybe it was less likely that if a woman went, maybe women were seen as less of a threat
Yeah.
to authorities.
So maybe-
because women actually didn't really count.
and why were they going to anoint him?
Because that was the ritual. That when you
Die, you get anointed. And
Yeah.
And again, the religious Jews, the Pharisees, all believed in ultimate resurrection. But it
well,
was,
I want to be clear about this because I know that the Pharisees and the Sadducees saw this very differently.
Yeah.
So was it the Pharisees then who believed in a
Yes.
resurrection or who
Ultimately.
believed in an afterlife, and the Sadducees did not?
did not, yeah. And whenever there were two Jews present, there were three
Opinions. Okay.
yes. So the Pharisees believe eventually, at the end of the world, we will all be resurrected. It's not like immediately. So what's really interesting is whatever people were saying about resurrection, Jeshua did not make it clear to any of his students that he was going to be resurrected, even though it says here that just as I told you.
Oh, but earlier in Mark, he says
Yep.
says that he will be raised from the dead.
Yes, but they didn't get it.
Oh, right.
They
They didn't know what it meant.
So that strikes me as puzzling, because how could you not make that clear to your students? If I had to tell you, I'm going to be, don't worry, Michael, I'm going to be resurrected, and after I die, I'm going to come back in 3 days, and I'm going to be alive again. Now, either you would let me know what are you talking about, and I would explain it to you, or not. So it's not clear to me how his students could not understand.
Well, one might suggest that Jesus himself wasn't entirely certain. Jesus himself maybe had intimations.
Right, how could you be certain? How could you even have intimations, by the way?
Well, we have intimations all the time about what's true and what's not true, and
Yeah, I think
sometimes we're right and sometimes we're wrong.
I think I'm gonna live after this life. It seems pretty, everything, even if a acorn dies, it seems like there's recycling going on all the time.
Recycling, that's exactly
So
what's
I
going to
think,
happen.
I even believe.
Now the question, a question that I have is: are we recycled into a single unit, or do we return to the great ocean? Do we become a drop in the ocean that sort of like becomes part of this great?
I think there's choices, really.
We have choices.
I think we have choices, just like we have in this life.
Yeah.
Where to live.
Yeah. Well,
Who to go out with. We have choices. We do. how we feel about ourselves. Lots of choices.
Yeah.
So someone once said, we all get the God we deserve. I think we all get the afterlife, or the next morning. Not all of us, but many of us get what we deserve, what we earned. Okay, so
Well, may it be so.
so I don't get it. So, but this is
You don't
already
get what?
getting
You
interesting.
don't
I don't
get
get
what?
any of this. I don't get Yeshua saying to his students. I mean, if you're a good teacher, I'm not good enough a teacher. I love saying stuff, and if they get it, they get it. If they don't, they'll ask me. But so I don't get, as a teacher, how they didn't get it. If he says something that unusual, I am going to be raised from the dead. They didn't even expect him to be crucified. I don't think he knew. I think they'd like to make him. Whoever wrote it once. This is my best guess. It was so outlandish that they wanted to say he knew. I don't think he knew. None of it. He didn't even want it to happen, according to many versions. Let this cup pass me by.
Right.
So I don't think he knew. I think it was, and then the horror of it was such that they wanted to say that he knew. I was in control. I knew. So my best bet would be that he didn't know.
But ultimately, neither of us know. You don't know. I don't know. Scholars don't know. These are the best guesses of everyone.
All we can do with much.
All we have are these words, these books,
Yeah.
these scraps, these texts.
So I would guess
This is what we have.
Now I would guess that he even have an inclination that this would happen. I mean,
But you're just guessing.
he was a Pharisee, but all we can do is with all kinds of things. Marriage is a guess.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we're taking our best shot.
Having a child is a guess,
Yeah.
right?
We're taking our best shot.
As you can see, this show is a guess.
And if you're still watching,
And Columbia's still there. We're not totally at a loss. We've succeeded. And maybe Gail, maybe Michael Ray if I'm lucky. But I think he didn't know, he was totally surprised that this happened. He was totally surprised it happened. He didn't want it to happen. And the writers, his students said, oh, he might have given certain hints that there's life after this one.
so here's a question that I have for you.
Yeah.
Why is it so important? So essentially what you're doing is you're taking this mysterious text that leaves a lot open,
Yeah.
and you are nailing down what you think, what the truth is.
Maybe not nailing, but guessing.
Why is that important? Why is it important to guess?
I mean, I like understanding him.
Mm-hmm.
I love him not knowing. I'm much happier that way. What do we know?
Well, I think personally, I think that's the basis of living the spiritual life, is not knowing, living in a place of not knowing.
And it's way
in
better
this great
than you.
mystery.
Who would
that
think
we are-
Columbia would be watching us from West Virginia week after week?
Who could have predicted?
Yes. Or that we'd be doing this.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten tired of it, apparently. It's getting even more interesting.
Well, we haven't gotten tired of talking.
Yeah. No, we're living. We have a life apart from here, right? Don't we?
Yes, we do.
So there.
Yeah.
In fact, not only do we have a life, tomorrow evening at 7:30.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock? Oh, are you sure?
Yes.
Oh my God.
I hope I'm sure, since I'm going to be the performer
Yes.
for this event.
Performing what?
I'm going to be performing a solo play called Hearing Voices, Speaking in Tongues.
It's a great title.
It's about my mother's life with schizophrenia and her recovery. I think of it as her spiritual biography. And I'm going to be performing it at Cambridge Hospital. You can get details by doing a Google search on Michael Mack. That's M-A-C-K, like the truck. Michael Mack, Cambridge Hospital. And
Free? It's free?
it's free.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
So it's a very rich play. And it's not just your mother's, if I may say this, I might not be able to.
Oh, it's true.
It's about
true. Yeah.
It's your relationship with your mother.
Yep.
Hugely.
Yeah.
If you've had challenges with your mother, this is the play for you, yes?
This is one of the plays for you.
It's yes, no, I've seen it. I think at least twice. I think.
Well, it's time that you saw it again, but
Yeah.
you're busy tomorrow.
Yeah.
You've got something else going
Yeah.
on.
Okay, so back we go. We only have 7 minutes. We're just even
Time to
beginning.
wrap it up.
So, not only do I not think he knows, and certainly it's clear he did not make it clear to his students. And that boggles my mind, even that this is written that way. How could this great teacher not make this clear to his students?
So, even though it does say in the text, though, that he told them,
Yeah, but they didn't get it.
they didn't get it.
So how can that
And he
doesn't
didn't
make sense.
He didn't bother
That doesn't-
explaining further.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
But that's the thing. It's very often true of spiritual teachers, spiritual gurus, that at a certain level, they're kind of elliptical. They're kind of mysterious.
They are. An
They're
example, yes. I think I would like to know if you're my teacher.
who's the golden guru? Rajneesh.
Yes.
He was like that. Or Adida. He was like
I
that.
don't know them, but it seems to me well, actually, as a teacher.
What did the Buddha say? The Buddha,
Yeah.
when the students asked him about the afterlife, his response was the noble silence. He said nothing. He said nothing about the afterlife because it didn't seem important to him.
Wow.
Even though purportedly
Was
he
very
in his enlightenment he saw all of creation.
But this I can't get. If you're going to die and be raised, right?
Yeah.
And I'm your student,
Yeah.
and it's going to be real frightening, right? Crucifixion, all that stuff, and you know it's going to happen to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not going to make clear to me, Michael Koran, don't be afraid. They're gonna really, really whip me and torture me and crucify me. I'm gonna be in this cave.
Because there is something that you need to learn. There's something that you need to learn, and maybe what you need to learn in this is faith. I mean, isn't that what we, as we are living this life, enduring this life, and enjoying this life, but as we are going through this life, there is no guarantee. You know, even though we have teachers like Jesus, teachers like the Buddha saying that there is, that there is worlds upon worlds of good things awaiting us. We don't have a lot of evidence here. But
No, we have evidence that great things, including our friendship,
well, sure.
including Columbia watching us, including CCTV.
Sure.
Beyond what I dreamed.
Sure.
Yeah.
But compared to the kind of glory that awaits us all, nothing like that.
I find your friendship is like that, to tell you the truth.
Well, thank you.
That's true. On CCTV, I find it's like, wow, thank you. I'm not sure he's hitting me or this would do. No, so I don't get it. I don't. Then don't tell anybody. If you're going to tell them, communicate clearly.
Is it possible that there are some things that are not communicable?
I think it'd be pretty clear. I'm going to be crucified, and then in 3 days I'm going to be. I really think this is what I really think happened.
So why might he? Let's just speculate for a
Yeah,
moment.
yes, that's
and
what
it's
we've been
just
doing.
speculation.
In case you think what happened before was not speculation, but go on.
What might be his motive?
This is what I think really happened, so I'm going to answer it indirectly.
Yeah.
They only have
But
two.
why might he have done that? Why might he have?
I think he was surprised. I think he was revived. His friends, like you, came and took him off the cross in 3 hours. That's written repeatedly.
Yeah.
That Pilate says he's off so soon. Even we have.
He's already dead?
Yes. So he was most probably not dead. And then they took him and his friends. I love this. You need your friends, especially when you're being crucified or after you've been crucified. His friends, nowadays we would say he revived. And the reason revived is such a nicer word in some ways than resurrection, which is also a nice word, is that it's available to all of us. Have you ever felt
Well,
like
resurrection is also.
But revive happens every time you go. Have you?
Resurrection happens every time you wake up in the morning.
Okay, now we're talking. Then it's the same thing. So if you'd say Jeshua revived, he was He was maybe even flatlined, but the comfort and kind of wrapped him up very nicely. People used to be buried in their graves and used to have a bell, so that because many people were buried and weren't dead, and they ring the bell and they bring them up again.
What?
There was
People were
buried and they could ring a bell in the coffin.
Oh, okay.
In case, because they didn't have modern medical.
Right.
And even nowadays, you can be flatlined and come back repeatedly. So that's what I think really happened. He was flatlined. Maybe they thought he was dead, and they revived him.
Well, you totally taken out all of the mystery.
Well, that's
all
a
of the
mystery.
possibility that's in there.
Why is that a mystery?
No, you just explained it all away.
But revival is a huge, beautiful. You feel like you're dead. That's a wonderful mystery, and all of a sudden you're alive again.
Well, it's a mystery in the same way that waking up is a mystery.
Yes. Those are mysteries. If you make one special event a mystery, you take the mystery out of.
I'm not making one special
getting up in the
event mystery,
morning.
but it seems like you just explained away this beautiful story.
I think I've just spread the mystery everywhere, so it's not just one in this story.
That sounds like a bunch of hooey, but I love you, and so I'll let you get away with it.
Okay, so on that note, we've
got 30 seconds left.
So much revival to all when you feel like you're being crucified, which some of us are not strangers to, and that we can revive. And this is a story that is inspiring all of us with the help of our friends, not alone, with the help of our friends, that we can all revive.
10 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We're the God Talk guys. We'll be back.